Welcome to Gapology Radio Podcast with authors Mark Tinas and Brian Brockhoff. We can be reached at gapology.org, and our books can be found at amazon.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Gapology Radio. This is your podcast where we talk about Gapology, we talk about IMBAR, and other things that involve winning leadership. We're going to give Mark Tinas a call and see what he's up to this week.
Hey Brian.
Hey Mark, how are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. Hey, I'm a little confused by this text you sent me though. You said that today you wanted to visit the bar? What's this all about?
What's different about today?
Yeah, exactly. So you want to talk about BAR?
Well, we've had such an unprecedented response to our podcasts on identity and mindset, the I and the M of IMBAR. I think we need to revisit the whole thing.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's kind of pull it all together.
All right. Well, let me jump right in then if you're ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we learned IMBAR, I-M-B-A-R, from winning leaders during our time working with winning leaders on Gapology. It was something we saw in them. And we call it the Pathway of Transformation. And it's an acronym that stands for identity, mindset, behavior, action, and results. And it's a linear pathway that is hardwired into each of us that we control, yet we just don't know about it. You're not going to hear about this somewhere else. They're not talking about it. They're not teaching it in school. Yet if you learn to control, to leverage, to understand IMBAR, it can truly change your life. So I think that's how I'd set it up, Brian. Anything to add before I jump in?
Yeah, no, I think that's good.
So IMBAR works both forwards and backwards. So let me explain that. So our identity, so that would be who we think we are, how we perceive ourselves, that creates our mindset. So the I creates the M. Mindset is how we think and feel. That creates our behavior. So if you're ever having a behavioral issue with yourself, it's coming from your identity and your mindset. Our behavior then creates the actions of those around us. So if we're a parent, if we're a leader, you can see how that can happen. Even if we're an individual contributor, we influence all of those around us. So our behavior creates the actions of those around us, and that ultimately creates the results, the outcomes that we produce. So I creates M, M creates B, B creates A, which creates R. So if you're ever having an issue with results, look no further than back at yourself at the I and the M, and you can affect results. So that's where IMBAR becomes incredibly powerful, because it works backwards as well. So our results, I'm going to go backwards on it now. Our results are the outcome of the actions of all of ourselves and those around us. That's where results come from. And the actions come from the behavior of leaders, ideally ourselves, if you're focused on your own IMBAR. And our behavior, again, comes from our mindset, how we think and feel, and that comes from our identity, who we think we are. So this pathway, forwards and backwards, is something that we can control, that we can use to literally create any results that we want to create. So Brian, I'll pause for a moment, I'll give it to you, and we'll come back.
Yeah, one of the things I like to think about when we're talking about behavior, action, results specifically is that, if you think about a bicycle, so when you ride a bicycle, your behavior is, you're pedaling the pedals, you're spinning the pedals. And then the action is that the wheels start to spin. And then the result is that you're actually moved to the destination you're trying to get to. So if you look at your team and you're not getting the results, you're not reaching that destination that you're trying to get to, start to look at what is your behavior. And then you can back that up to really look at, so what is my mindset around it and what's my identity?
Great point. Another reason why you and I both carry mirrors with us, because if we ever want to know what the issue is, we just hold up the mirror.
Right.
So what this all means for me, though, is that we are hardwired to achieve great things. We are hardwired to achieve extraordinary results. But only a small segment of the population got that owner's manual. The rest of us sort of just float through life and allow life to happen. It doesn't have to be that way. We can literally achieve whatever we want to achieve. We can literally create and affect great things if we just understand this pathway and that we're in control. So I want to give you another look at IMBAR. If you separate out the I and the M, those are thought. Those are in our minds. So think of the I and the M as thought transformation when you think about changing those and affecting those. The B, A, and R are performance. So they're, to your bicycle analogy, they are physical things that are literally moving. So thought precedes performance. The I and the M precede the B, A, and R. And again, that's how we affect results. That's how we achieve great things. One of the analysis that we did of highly successful people, which we talk about in the book, we wrote a book called IMBAR, by the way, The Pathway of Transformation. And in that book, we talked about highly successful people. And one of the things that we studied and that we looked at is the things that they avoid. And it's very interesting to not necessarily look at the things that they do, but look at the things that they avoid. So the first thing that they avoid is frustration. They don't even allow it to be part of the vocabulary. So while most of us get frustrated and get down because of frustration, they tended to talk about overcoming that by being effective, by getting things going, and by looking in the mirror and understanding that they are the solution, and therefore frustration has no place. It's meaningless, and they quickly overcome that. Brian, anything around frustration you could share?
It's interesting that is totally a mindset. So, as we talked about in the last episode, mindset is something that we control. We need to take ownership of that. So frustration is definitely part of that.
Yeah. So the second one is carrying baggage from the past. They simply, without talking to each other and without having a handbook around it, they all talked about not carrying baggage and about just letting go. So baggage doesn't do anybody any good. So if you carry around the past in a negative way, it affects the future. So simply let go, and you're free then to create the future that you want to create. It's very liberating to just let go. So keep your hands on the wheel, keep your eyes on the road ahead, and go forward, and quit looking in the rearview mirror. Let's go. Again, it's mindset, Brian, but it is a huge factor when you look at creating great results, and how you control your IMBAR is you can't carry baggage. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. There's really nothing you can do about the past except for learn from it, right?
Yeah. But if you carry it around on your back, pretty soon you can't walk around. The third thing that they avoid, which was quite interesting, is they avoid negative people. So they do not associate with people that bring them down or people that are constantly negative. They will tend to associate with positive people. Maybe it's like-minded people, but in either case, optimistic people was talked about versus pessimistic. So who you associate with has a big impact on your identity and on your mindset, which we already talked about, creating our behavior, actions, and results. So who you associate with has a big impact on your results ultimately. Think about a team that's high performance. You want great people on the team. Gallup studies of top performing people show that top performing people want to surround themselves with people on the team that produce at a high level. Absolutely. So this all fits with that. So don't associate or hang around with negative people. Thoughts on that, Brian?
Yeah, and think about social media today. I think this is so relevant today because I think less and less we're associating with people physically, where we're connecting with people on Facebook or wherever, and so often people are easy to judge when they don't have to look somebody in the eye. And so if you're surrounding yourself with negative people, even on like Facebook or whatever social media that you're involved with, that starts to become who you are. It starts to influence your mindset. I think it's easier to eliminate those people from your life on social media. Just unfollow them, unconnect with them. I think that definitely helps. I think every once in a while you just need to do a purge on your Facebook or your social media and just get rid of those people who are the naysayers, who are the negative people out there. I think it'll definitely improve how you see the world.
Is that why you defriended me on Facebook?
Oops, dang it. I shouldn't have let that out.
No, that's a great point.
Yeah.
So the last thing that they avoid is saying yes to everyone. Mm-hmm. So some people try and please everybody by saying yes, 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 yes. What the highly successful people talked about was that if they say yes to everyone, they don't have time for the things that matter most. You can't take on everything and be extremely successful. You have to keep a fairly narrow focus. So by saying yes to everyone, you lose your narrow focus. And so this, I wasn't, expecting to see this here, but saying yes to everyone becomes a burden again, to where you can't really be focused on the things that matter most. So very interesting that one of the things on the list was you have to learn to say no, you have to learn to prioritize effectively, spend your time wisely, and keep a very narrow focus. So that's on the list, and those were the 4 things. Anything to wrap up that piece, and I'm going to close with a lesson on IMBAR.
Yeah, with the prioritization piece, I think IMBAR is just the perfect process for doing that. When you're creating your storyboard, when you're looking at your current state, your transform state, and your plans for transformation, it really helps to prioritize things in your life.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here's a lesson that we learned, and I'm going to close with this, and it's really one of the great ways to use IMBAR. So picture IMBAR on a whiteboard, for lack of a better visual, and you've got an I, an M, a B, an A, and an R coming across the top of the whiteboard, and you're filling in down below each of those letters. We went backwards on this, and it was incredible. So we started with the R, and we simply plugged in, both with individuals and with teams, and in some cases with entire organizations. We plugged in the R that they wanted to achieve, put in a number. And in most cases, it was a number. So in some cases, it was not. So what was the result they wanted to achieve? So in most cases, what was plugged in there was some aspirational number. And that was the starting point for IMBAR. We then went to the A, and we asked, okay, what are the actions of the team of this organization or of the people that are around you that would need to take place to achieve that R, that result? And we came up with the actions that would equal that. The amazing thing here was that we actually were able to come up with a set of actions that would equal that number that they thought, was like impossible. There actually was an A to fill in. So then we went to the B. What are the behaviors of the leaders, whether it's yourself or the leaders of the organization or the team, that are needed to create the actions, the A, in others? And we were able to come up with leader behaviors that would get us there. So this became exciting because we were well on our way to seeing how this R, this result, this outcome that was off the charts was now achievable. We then said, okay, what's the M, the mindset that we will need to have those behaviors? this was a tough one, but we were able to come up with what the mindset would need to be. And finally, we were able to come up with the identity that we needed to have, or the organization needed to have, to achieve that mindset, to achieve that behavior, to achieve those actions, and to achieve those results. And that map, we call that IMBAR mapping, that map became the marching orders for the organization or for the individual for the year, potentially. And the things we've achieved with this are crazy good. And again, you will not have heard this anywhere else. And I can tell you the results have been amazing. So Brian, I'll turn it to you to close.
Yeah, these have been amazing for sure. And I think the key really is to define those things. That takes it out of the theoretical and puts it into the real world. So awesome job, Mark. I think this was a great episode. I'm glad we kind of circled back and covered everything.
Yeah. And thanks everybody for your feedback around identity and mindset and the impact that those podcasts have had on you. And hopefully this one brings it all together and puts it in perspective. So thanks everybody. Look forward to talking to you next week.
All right. Thanks, Mark. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's it for this week. As a reminder, you can reach out to us via email at contact@gapology.org or head on over to our website for more information on workshops or individual coaching. Everyone have a fantastic week. We'll talk to you soon.
This has been a Gapology production. Visit us at gapology.org.